Welcome to the Leadership at Work introduction video. My name is Belinda Fife from Unlock Success and I'm one of the associates with Leadership at Work. Leadership at Work is all about positively shaping both organisations and individuals' work lives. To let you know a little bit more about what it is that we do, we invite you now to join us on the couch for a discussion hosted by one of our key clients, Dean Parish, with two of our facilitators, Robert Ree and Brad Clark.
I'm Dean Parish. I'm from Ballarat District Nursing and Healthcare. I'm part of the leadership team up there, and I also take responsibility for the management of their software development business, Unity. I started to work with Robert about 2.5-3 years ago now, after some support from my CEO to help me become a better leader and a better manager. I really wasn't getting my job done. I wasn't developing the relationships within the workforce to encourage other people to get them done. So Joe recommended that I come and see Robert, and it was probably the best recommendation I've had. It's made my working life actually enjoyable now. I love going to work, and I love putting into people what I've got out of Robert, which is developing people and helping them to become their best. So on that note, I'd like to introduce Robert Ree, the principal from Leadership at Work. Robert.
Thanks, Dean. Thanks. A little bit of background about myself. I started off Leadership at Work in 1987, 27 years ago, having had a 10-year career in HR management before that. I was able to put together a number of programs based on my experience of seeing great leaders in actions and see what great leaders do. Also, just as valuable was to learn from leaders that weren't so great, to see what they did so that you can start to differentiate between what good leaders do and what other leaders do. The important thing about all of that is the impact of those leaders on organisational performance. That's been our passion for the last 27 years. That's what we try to get organisations to understand, that crucial role of leadership and how that impacts on organisation performance. Over the last few years, I've also been fortunate enough to work with a couple of other associates who are now part of the Leadership at Work team. And on my left here is Brad Clark. Brad, would you like to introduce yourself?
Thanks, Robert. G'day, Dean. Brad Clark. I'm the Managing Director of Better Communities Consulting. I'm an associate of Robert Ree and Robert Ree and Associates. Mate, my experience was probably not dissimilar from yours. I worked in social services, managing some pretty complex contracts and high numbers of staff, and was just getting it wrong. Didn't have an opportunity to learn the skills that were necessary. So after 6 or 7 years of making some mistakes and fighting the good fight, got out, met with Robert, and just loved what he was preaching. So I decided to go out and do a similar thing. So completely agree with your point. Development of leaders and managers is absolutely critical.
Yeah. I think for other people to get the most out of this, there's probably a few questions I'd like to ask you.
Sure.
What kind of organisations do you guys work with?
Okay. The industries vary quite a lot. Of most recent times, we've worked in the health industry. We've worked with. We are currently working in the transport industry, distribution, logistics, and certainly in the manufacturing and the food processing, amongst others. Finance, and of course Brad's background coming from the welfare industry too has been working with them.
Yeah, social sciences is one that we're getting into. Certainly there are a number of statutory bodies that we're trying to get involved with in around social insurance, leisure and recreation, and employment services is another area we've been working with.
I think the interesting thing about that too, Dean, is that regardless of the industry, whether it's in the private sector, the public sector, or even the size of the organisation, every organisation is unique. But there's some common core threads that we're finding that challenges to leaders in those organisations, regardless of the industry type.
So who are you working with in those organisations? What sort of people are you working with?
Okay. Typically, we work with the CEO or the executive team, a member of the executive team, who have already made a decision. They've got the realisation that the things need to improve in terms of leadership, performance, and organisation culture. So we do a lot of work at the initially at the senior management level. We're often introduced by the HR managers of those organisations as well. So HR is usually in a unique position to find where the problems are in the organisation, because people problems always end up on the desk of the HR manager.
So what do you actually do with those organisations?
Good question. We work with those individuals or with the executive team, and we help them to identify and address some of their key issues. And Brad, would you like to?
Yeah. Look, through the initial consultation, what we're looking for is, where's the pain? What's hurting you? What's making you not sleep at night? And once we start to identify those painful spots, we actually then start to look at some interventions around that pain and look at performance, embedding performance that takes the pain away.
So tell us about some of the results that you've got.
Right. Well, we work very closely with the executive team to focus our attention on where that pain is and how that pain is impacting on the organisation results. So sometimes those results can be to do with the quality of the product or the service that's being provided. Sometimes it's to do with the level of motivation and engagement of the staff or various team members. Sometimes it's to do with the effectiveness of how well the team is working together. So each of those areas of pain, as Brad has described them, have their own form of measurement. Communication, performance counselling, time management, delegation, problem solving, conflict resolution. So we're working with them on those particular areas. And we can actually measure the performance of the participants both before and after them attending the program. Other measurements other results are measured in terms of organisation culture. So we have an organisation culture survey which measures some of the key components that make up organisation culture. Those components include communication, relationships, fairness, innovation, etc. And we can measure the results of our intervention both before and after the particular intervention.
I guess something else that speaks to your results is the fact that organisations keep sending people to you.
That's true. I'd estimate that 70 or 80% of our current participants are from organisations that have already sent participants before. One, for an example, is the Ryan Transport Group from Warrnambool, where we started working with the CEO there 7 years ago now. He came and did the program, and since then he's sent all of his executives onto the program, and that's part of the need to remain as an executive in that organisation is to have gone through and acquired the skills in that program.
I think one of the important things, or the elements in that, is that we do get staff turnover over time, and to maintain a culture, you want people understanding the foundations of where that culture came from. Some of the language, and yourself, Dean, from doing leadership at work, we do use. There's a definite language of leadership that's taught. So if you've got an organisation that's talking the language and then living the culture, when someone new comes into your organisation, you want them to get up to speed so they can also be using that language and the tools and be part of that culture as quickly quickly as possible. So I think that's why we do get that repeat business from organisations sending their new management and executive members to us.
Terrific.
Robert, how do people contact you?
Very good question. Well, we have a website, and the website is called leadershipatwork.com.au, and our programs are advertised there, both the public programs and the in-house programs. I don't think we mentioned we run the Leadership at Work program in various regional cities. Brad?
That's right. So Melbourne, Geelong, Warrnambool, Ballarat, and anywhere you want us to be honest.
That's right. We've actually run the program in-house in every state of Australia over the last 27 years, and also in New Zealand.
Yeah.
So,
and of course, the other way that we communicate is through our e-newsletter. So we have a subscription process there. So it's just a matter of shooting us an email, and we can put you onto the newsletter and keep you up to date with all our comings and goings.
Thank you for joining us for our discussion on the couch. Hopefully it's giving you a little bit more information about what we do and how leadership is such an important ingredient in your business's success. We invite you now to visit our website www.leadershipatwork.com.au, where you can sign up for our e-newsletter. Until next time.
Yeah.